pop on and do a quick edit. So this is basically how I usually do most of my dark bowls. So I always start off with baby just on the posy. So this is the perfect posy from Graceland Designs. I use it for almost all of my digitals. And then I just start by like adjusting in Camera Raw. So I'm just going to bump up the exposure a little bit and contrast, warm it up a little bit. My camera shoots a little bit magenta, so I always adjust the tint a little bit as well. Probably going to keep the shadows the same. And then I always just go to lens correction and just correct the profile corrections, and then I open image. So I've got my digital here and baby here, and then I just take my selection tool and I make a nice circle around baby. It's just a rough one, doesn't need to be exact, and then I literally just drag baby over into my bowl. So I do Control T just to get it resized, reduce the opacity so I can see what I'm doing. And I always like baby's eyes to kind of be looking at the viewer. So you could have baby like that, but then you'd have to tilt your head. So always try and have baby's eyes or baby's face directly like that. And when I've got a rough position that I'm happy with, I kind of just increase the opacity back and then create a mask here so I can rub out around baby. So I always go in with a soft brush on black at 100% opacity, and I just rub out the edges here. So I don't rub out all the way in. I kind of just go roughly around the edges here. Kind of reposition a little bit, and then so the key to getting digitals to look realistic is obviously you need to make sure that you're shooting so the same direction of the light in the digital needs to match the direction of the light that baby is photographed in. So as you can see, this digital, the light is coming from this direction, from the top left, and it's the same with baby. I shoot with a big PLM, and I always position it so that the light is coming from the left when I'm shooting for digitals. Right, so once I've done the rough outline, I then reduce my brush all the way down to about 25%, and then I kind of start rubbing out. I don't really care at this point if I rub out some of baby's features because I'll bring them back later with a white brush. What I'm aiming to do is like blend as much of the posy, so that's a bit too much, in with the backdrop. So once I've done like a layer around, I get the closer I get to baby, the smaller my brush and the lower my opacity will be. And I just take a finer brush and I just start brushing away and zoom in here. I know this part of the digital is actually wood, but I want to keep it a little bit more blended, so I'm actually not going to brush it all off. I'm just going to keep going, as you can see. Okay. So keep going, just blending as much as possible, just around here. So we'll take care of the shadows as well in a bit, but I don't want to remove too much on this side because this is the shadow side, so I want to keep it nice and dark. So I'm roughly happy with this. Probably do a little bit more on here just to blend it a bit more. Actually, I'm going to bring some of that back, so I'm just going to take a white brush. I preferred it with more of the texture in. Yeah, I prefer it more like that. Move maybe up a little bit. Perfect. So now I'm going to take a white brush, white soft brush on 100% opacity, and I'm going to increase the hardness of the brush to about 55%, and I'm just going to go around and make sure I bring back all of baby's features and clothing back. So I'm going to go around baby's head here just to bring back all of baby's features. I don't know why this is not working on the screen record. It seems to freeze when I press it. So, okay, so bring that back. Baby's ear, make sure that's all there. And then just go and bring arm back and here. This bit as well. Oh, got a bit there. Okay, and then I can't really use this, so it doesn't want me to. We could use that bottom side part. I'm going to get away from it. Okay, so this bit's really important, bringing baby's feet back after I rub them all off. So that's where we're at. So obviously when you're doing this, because I'm screen recording and the computer's a bit funny, you'll be a lot more kind of precise. So especially bits around like the feet and the fingers, you want to just really zoom in. I can't hear because it's not letting me move by the sidebar down here, but you want to get really up close. So really, really zoom in and make sure that you're bringing back all of the little features there. So in a minute, so now I'm going to switch this off so I can see. I've switched the background layer off just so that I can make sure I've got all of baby. So as you can see, I missed a few bits because they're kind of in the middle of the image of baby. So I'm going to check here. Nope, I've got most of the foot. So yeah, okay. And it doesn't matter because it's like a dark background, and obviously the posy is quite dark. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna. Oh, there's one more little bit of mist here of his face. Back. So I'm going to bring back the backdrop, and that's kind of roughly where I'm at. So usually I would save it at this point, but because I'm screen recording, I'm not. So at this point, I'm kind of cut baby out and I'm happy, so I'm going to flatten it, but I would save before flattening usually. And then I want to do some of my shadow work. So before that, I'm just going to brighten baby up, and I like to do this with a curves layer. So I kind of go in the middle, pull it up, Control I to invert, a white brush, low opacity, soft, so no hardness on it, and about 50% opacity or so. I'm just going to brighten up the areas that the light is already kind of hitting, just to do that. So I'm going to flatten, and then I'm going to do a little bit of the shadow work. So you can use curves the way I do my shadows, but I've got quite a few actions, so I just use the Darken Baby from the LSP actions. I think this is the LSP Signature Newborn collection, so I just use Darken Baby, but you can do it with curves. So the way to do it with curves is just use a curves layer, bring the curves layer down, I to invert, and then brush it on. I'm just going to do it with the with my darken action, just because I prefer it. So I'm gonna go in at about 30%, and I'm going to paint on just where the shadows would usually be. So if his foot's there, you usually get a shadow there, you usually get a bit of a shadow where the head is, and then I'm just going to darken around here. And then if you zoom out, switch that on and off, and you can see the difference. And then I'm going to flatten, and I'm going to press it again. The reason why I like to flatten and do it again is it just, in my opinion, works out better than just adding on to the same layer. and I'm kind of happy with that. So yeah. Right, so now we've kind of put baby into the bowl. I'm now going to edit baby's skin, so I don't like to over edit baby's skin. I really like to keep babies as natural as possible. This baby in this image was slightly out of focus, but I still chose to use it because he was kind of smiling. So I really wanted to give that to the parents. So we'll sort the focus later. And then his skin, so I've just here, what I've done is I've used the spot healing tool and I've just brushed up some of those spots, flatten that. And then for skin tone, the way I like to do it is via selective colour. So go to selective colouring. You want the reds channel because most babies' skin is in the reds channel. He's looking quite pink. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the yellow and reduce the cyan a little bit. And if you switch that on and off, you can see the difference in the warmth of the skin. So I don't want that across the whole image. So I'm going to do Control I to invert. And then with a soft white brush, I'm going to brush that on about 80% onto his skin, just here. Okay. And then for my skin editing, I use, so you can use really any skin smoothing action that you have, or if you've created one yourself or in any of the action sets. So I've got many, I've got the LSP, but my favourite one is by Totally Rad, and it's the Skin D-Blotch medium. I just feel like it keeps a lot of baby's skin texture. It doesn't overly smooth their features, and so I really like this one. So that's just personal preference. It's just taken a while to run because the screen is recording. And also this this action pack comes with others, but I don't really use the others. It's mainly D-Blotch. I find that really nice for newborns and adults, actually, and older kids. So I'm going to usually use this action at 50%, and I just literally brush it over baby's skin. As you can see, it doesn't overly smooth. I don't tend to overly smooth. I don't also remove every single little flake. I like to leave those in. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to flatten. I think baby's still a little bit red, so I'm going to go into my curves. And in my curves, I'm going to go onto the red because that's what I want to reduce. And I'm just going to pull the reds down a little bit. And then I'm going to press I to invert, white brush, 50% opacity, and I'm just going to brush that on just to remove some of the reds. And a black brush, 100%, I want to bring the reds back to his cheeks and his lips. So as you can see, if I switch that on and off, you'll see some of the reds have been removed. And then finally, at the end, I like to take a levels. With this slider here, I like to move that slider towards the left. I to invert, because I don't want that effect across the whole image. With the soft white brush, around 50% opacity, I'm just going to brush that onto the face. It just gives that extra bit of light, and to the other areas where the light is hitting. So I'm quite happy with that now. And then the final thing is I want to take care of where it's a little bit out of focus. So I do have a focus action that I've got from LSP, but you can also do this by hand editing, and I'll show you how. So if you just do Control J to duplicate the background, and if you go to Filter, Other, and then High Pass Filter, and then you want this high pass filter around somewhere between 13 and 22. I'll put it around 18, press OK, and then create a layer mask and just invert that. You want to change the mode to overlay, and then you just want to brush that on about 30% opacity, and that will bring back some of the focus and sharpen baby's details. So I usually just use the sharpen out of focus areas, this one by LSP Actions, and that really does sharpen out of focus areas. It's a really good action. So that is it. So I will leave a link in the comments or in the of this video for if you wanted to purchase the bowl background. They're in my Etsy shop under the Saffron Sun, so you can have a look. They're sold in a bundle. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And let me know if you want to see more of these edits. And thanks for listening. Bye.